Dear Mr. Dunlap, I'm writing to ask you to resign from Trump's sham election commission. I'm a Democrat, and I urge you to not be a part of it. Postmarked Seattle, so. Got a lot from Brooklyn, too, by the way. Wyoming. You have no need of being on the president's sham commission, okay?
Matt Dunlap is the Secretary of State in Maine. He's one of 5 Democrats on the 12-person Presidential Advisory Commission on Election Integrity. And he gets a lot of mail.
This is one of my personal favorites. I urge you to resign from the Presidential Advisory Commission on Election Integrity. To help you make that decision, I am sending you dictionary definitions of the word integrity.
Helpful.
Very helpful.
The so-called Voter Fraud Commission was created in response to President Trump's claim that millions of people voted illegally in last year's election. Did you have any reservations about joining the commission?
When the president says something like, he would have won the popular vote if 3 to 5 million votes, possibly illegal votes, hadn't been cast. You know, that's not true. I know that's not true. But you know, the point of being able to pull away the covers from, you look under the bed and see there's no monster there, I think that's a pretty valuable thing to be able to do.
But a lot of Democrats disagree. They think Dunlap's presence on the commission legitimizes it, and that he should resign.
You know, the people that want to dismantle the commission or demand that we all resign from it, sham voter fraud commission is what people usually call it. You know, you do that, and then the other side will say, well, the reason why they want to dismantle that because they don't want anybody to know about the busloads of illegal immigrants they bring into the polling places every year. And the legend goes on. I think you squash it here by answering the questions.
Let all vote! Let all vote!
There have been a lot of questions about what exactly this commission plans to do. The group has asked every state to hand over its voter rolls, but hasn't said what that data will be used for. And the commission has only met twice, including a much-anticipated public meeting last week in New Hampshire. It was led by the commission's vice chair, Chris Kobach, who is also the Secretary of State in Kansas and the author of some of the strictest voter ID and registration laws in the country. The meeting featured testimony on voter turnout, fraud, and cybersecurity. There was even a demonstration of voting machines from 1892.
The ballot goes in the box, and the duct tape helps it go in.
But the meeting was overshadowed by Kobach defending a claim he made in a Breitbart op-ed just days before, that he knows thousands of people voted illegally in New Hampshire last year because they did not have an in-state driver's license.
Because unlike my state of Kansas, which doesn't have people flooding across the border to participate in primaries, to possibly cast a vote, in New Hampshire, it's a swing state. Everybody comes here.
Voter fraud is Kobach's obsession. In Kansas, Kobach prosecutes voter fraud and has won 9 convictions, most of them against people who voted in more than one state. But his claims about New Hampshire are patently false. Using an out-of-state license to register to vote is both legal and common in the state, especially for college students.
Making this equation that somehow people not updating their driver's license is an indicator of voter fraud would be almost as absurd as saying that if you have cash in your wallet, that's proof that you robbed a bank.
After the meeting had ended, Kobach didn't seem fazed by criticism from his fellow commissioners. In fact, he doubled down on the issue of rampant voter fraud by citing a figure from the Heritage Foundation. The conservative think tank found almost 1,100 instances of voter fraud in local, state, and federal elections since 1948. That's an incredibly small number when you consider that more than 3 billion votes have been cast in federal elections alone over that same period. But Kobach argues these 1,100 instances show just how big the problem could be.
Now we're trying to just get a glimpse of the iceberg. How big is it? How many cases are there that weren't convicted? So I know.
You think 1,100 could go to 3 to 5 million?
I don't know, but I do know that the tip of the iceberg is a very small percentage. We'll probably never have a complete picture of the problem, but the more facts we can get, the better specificity and accuracy we'll have in describing how big that iceberg is below the water.
As for Matt Dunlap, he doesn't think there's an iceberg, and he doesn't think the commission will find any evidence of widespread voter fraud.
The 1,100 cases that they've caught, I mean, that's done, right? And against the backdrop of the claim of the president that 3 to 5 million people voted illegally, Well, they got 4,999,000 to go to match that number. And I think the reality is the number is very, very minuscule.